Welcome to Momentum Monday. Today is December 8th, 2024. Last week we saw the QQQ, the S&P 500 making new all-time highs, which kind of coincided with a pullback in interest rates. Finally, we're seeing the yields pulling back. We should help stock, and you would think that it should help the most small caps, but no, small caps are just taking their time. They're still consolidating constructively above their rising 20-day moving average, and maybe we might see a bounce at some point, but they underperformed last week significantly. So ever since the election, we've been talking about two huge trends. One is anything related to crypto is outperforming, and the second one is mega cap tech stocks have been underperforming. Well, that changed last week. With the beginning of the new month of December, we saw a significant bounce in many of the mega caps. Here's Amazon, and their bounce began a couple weeks ago. It pulled back to its rising 50-day moving average. It printed an inside tight range candle, which is usually the entry is above that tight range candle. And then it just kept running until it made new all-time highs again. Last week, we saw similar action in Meta, which also went back to new all-time highs, obviously with the news that TikTok might have to sell their US unit. Stocks like Meta, like Snapchat, Pinterest are likely to benefit, and we're already seeing that in their prices. Microsoft also bounced. I mean, had a significant bounce. It recovered from below its 200-day moving average, and now it's setting up potentially for a test of its all-time high near 470. Tesla obviously remains one of the top stocks since the elections. Made new highs, and it's not too far from testing its all-time highs, which are around for a little bit more than 400, 415. So I wouldn't be surprised if they test that level and even surpass it, maybe go to 420, Elon Musk's favorite number, by the end of the year. So super strong action in Tesla. And as you can see last week, again, higher lows, getting tighter and tighter here, and then a breakout. An immediate follow through. Nvidia is probably the only mega cap tech stocks that is showing relative weakness, uh, even though they're probably the most profitable company in the history of the world. But much of that has probably already been discounted by the market, and the market is waiting for surprises, for upside surprises, and more proof that Nvidia will continue to dominate the market. Nvidia probably right now owns more than 90% of the AI chip market, but the market is forward looking. And the market is probably starting to think that since all of the big ones, Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, are working on building their own AI chips, that maybe at some point they might start to take away from Nvidia's market share. Obviously, we might be very far from that day, but the market is already maybe taking, or some market participants taking that into account. And maybe this is why we're seeing that relative weakness in Nvidia. Overall, it's still holding above its rising 50-day moving average. And until this is the case, well, it's still in an uptrend. So it really probably doesn't pay to bet against it for anything more than a quick short-term move. But as of right now, there are other places, other stocks that are doing much, much better than Nvidia. It hasn't been a market leader in the past few months. So they've been stocks that have done a lot better. And those stocks for the past month have primarily been related to anything crypto. This means Coinbase, huge move post the elections, big gap, and then follow through. Then kind of has been consolidating sideways. And as you can see here, it a rising 20-day moving average caught up with price. We saw some range contraction at the beginning of last week, and then immediate continuation. So actually, this one hasn't even reached all-time highs from its IPO back in 2021. So it remains one of the big leaders. MSTR, it's finally has begun to slow down a little bit. I mean, Bitcoin reached 100,000 uh, last week for the first time in its history, which is a major benchmark. And then it kind of stalled at that level as of right now. And MicroStrategy, that is basically like a leveraged Bitcoin ETF in disguise. Like they keep raising more money by taking loans or by selling their own stock so they can buy more Bitcoin. So very interesting strategy, but it's been working. It's one of the best performing stocks of all time, really, or at least in the past few years. But lately it has slowed down. It has slowed down because Bitcoin continues to go up and MicroStrategy is kind of going sideways. So there's not that much alpha left, maybe compared to other Bitcoin ETFs like BITX, for example, as of right now. And then we have the Bitcoin miners, kind of setting up. They have built huge bases. Mara. This strategy is similar to MicroStrategy. I think as of right now they own 26,000 Bitcoin, and they keep raising more money by selling their stock, diluting current shareholders so they can buy more Bitcoin. But they're also a miner, like they own a bunch of utilities, a bunch of data centers where they mine Bitcoin, and they also said they want to enter the AI data center business. So they'll have other revenue streams. So it's definitely a stock that it could be very interesting in the next year or so. And as you can see here on a weekly chart, it is setting up for a potential breakout near 30. Other than that, we also saw last week a bounce in semiconductors. SMH, the ETF bounced near its 200-day moving average after big earnings surprises from companies like CRDO, one of the best performing semiconductor stocks for the past year or so. Another big gap, and then it's following through to the upside. As you can see here, since its IPO, it's up like 6 times. So amazing performance. Another one, Marvel, and they're part of the Nasdaq 100. Also big gap, and it's so far holding the gap. And companies like Marvel, like Broadcom, these are really the companies that are helping Amazon and Microsoft and others to build their own AI chips. So they remain in play as major AI plays. I mean, Broadcom, they report earnings this week, and they're already running, as the market is probably looking at Marvel results and thinking Broadcom is probably doing great as well. So why not buy it in anticipation? So definitely very interesting market, still a bull market by all means. And this doesn't mean that we should be blindly chasing stocks that are super extended. I would wait for range contractions near major moving average like 20, 50 days, just so we can enter with a tighter stop and tighter risk, because this is what trading is about. Entering with as littlest risk as possible so we can get a much higher return on the money we put to work. That's all for me this week. See you next week.